Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I am Ratan Priya, and in our Great Speeches series today, we look at an address by Madhukar Dattatraya Deoras, the third Sarsanchalak of Rashtriya Swamsevak Sangh. This speech was delivered in May 1974 at a lecture series in Pune, just after Deoras had taken over as RSS chief. It represented a key moment in organization's history as the new leader spoke about one of the most sensitive issues in Indian society, caste-based discrimination and social equality within the Hindu fold. Why revisit this speech now? At a time when debates around caste, social justice and Hindu unity continue to dominate political discourse, Deoras's 1974 address offers insight into how the RSS tackled internal contradictions between its ideological goals and social realities. Deoras began by rejecting the tendency to blame external forces for Hindu society's historical weaknesses, calling instead for self-examination. He said, "Our history of the past hundreds of years tells us that just a handful of Muslim invaders and even fewer Englishmen could rule over us, but we cannot just blame the foreigners for this and exonerate ourselves. Hence, instead of blaming others for our shortcomings, we should introspect within ourselves and try to know which of our failings enabled the foreigners to get the better of us." Drawing on RSS founder K.B. Hegrewar's philosophy, Deoras emphasized the need for internal accountability. He said, "In this regard, Dr. Hegrewar, founder of RSS, had a unique outlook. Whenever this topic arose, he used to say, we cannot escape our responsibility by simply blaming the Muslims and the Europeans for our downfall. We must seek out our own failings. We have to admit that social inequality amongst us has been one of the major reasons for our downfall." The RSS chief then spoke of how the Varna system originally emerged and evolved, suggesting it wasn't inherently discriminatory. He said, take for instance Varna Vyavastha, the caste system. It is said no such institution existed in the olden times. Leaders of those times thought that the society could progress only if 4 kinds of functions were properly and efficiently executed. Hence, the society was classified into 4 groups depending upon the specific qualities and aptitudes of individuals. It did not envisage any differences in the status of the people belonging to different groups. Deoras explained how what began as functional classification gradually became hereditary and discriminatory. He said, but as time went by, it must have become increasingly difficult to recognize and classify each individual based on his or her aptitudes in an extensive society. Under such circumstances, birth in a particular family itself must have been taken as the indication of the aptitudes of the individuals. But defects crept in the system when these checks and balances were ignored in the course of time. The RSS leader argued that changed circumstances demanded changes in thinking, making the hereditary caste system obsolete. He said, the situation has changed completely. The changed situation demands changes in our ways of thinking as well. In keeping with the times, the machine age has shifted vocations to factories where machines are used rather than to homes where work was once done by hand. Therefore, it is inconsistent with the demands of the modern times to insist on the hereditary caste system. Deoras dismissed the scientific basis for hereditary discrimination, citing contemporary examples. He said, some people attach great importance to the differences arising out of natural and hereditary factors, but to make these differences into a science is simply ridiculous. Before the First and Second World Wars, only certain groups of people in our country and also other countries were termed martial races. Nobody accepts the notion of martial or fighting races anymore. On untouchability, Deoras was clear in his condemnation, describing it as another saddening and unfortunate aspect of our social inequality. He said, whatever be its origin, all of us consider that untouchability is a terrible folly and it must, of necessity, be thrown out of lock, stock, and barrel. If untouchability is not wrong, then nothing in the world is wrong. The RSS chief called for gradual social transformation through intercaste dining and marriages. He said, if the Beti Vyavhar, just like Roti Vyavhar, also takes place in greater measure, it will help hugely in wiping out caste differences and bringing out integrity in the society. While Deoras highlighted the need for criticism, he called upon the backward groups to exercise restraint. He said, it is a fact that the backward or untouchable brethren of ours have borne a great amount of misery, insults and injustice in all these centuries. That agony is there in their hearts. I appeal to the oppressed brethren also to exercise care and restraint. The faults and follies in our society must certainly be criticized, but there are different ways of criticism. The RSS leader also touched upon the merit argument typically used by the upper caste to criticize the system of reservation. He said, since they have been backward all these days, they only want facilities and opportunities to be provided to them to advance. This desire of theirs is quite legitimate, and it is for them to decide how long these privileges should continue. In the long run, however, they will have to compete with others and earn an equal status only on the basis of merit alone. The RSS leader concluded by linking social equality to Hindu unity. He said, if one wants to establish unity and harmony in society, one has to think about what principles should be picked up from our religious texts, from our history, which would be conducive to the removal of disparities and the consolidation of Hindu society. May all of us sincerely feel that the Hindus must unite, and the basis of that unity can only be social equality. Deoras's 1974 speech was an attempt to reconcile Hindu cultural pride with the need for social reform. It acknowledged internal failures while proposing a way forward for a united Hindu society. Thank you for joining us on Great Speeches. For more from The Print, become a subscriber at theprint.in/subscribe. I am Ratan Priya in Delhi.